Greetings, everybody. This is your friendly neighborhood movie fan coming to you once again with another Star Wars related video. I know I did one yesterday about, the rumor that Kathleen Kennedy was leaving Lucasfilm, but that's not what this one is about. I actually, and I know that I am insanely late to the party, but I started watching the Obi-Wan Kenobi series last night. Now, I bought the Blu-ray like last freaking year, and I know some of you are probably thinking, well, why didn't you start watching it right away? I have nothing to plead except temporary insanity, okay? Because, I was interested in it, and I've always liked Ewan McGregor's, version of Obi-Wan, and I was curious as to see what a young Leo would be like, and the idea of seeing, Hayden Christensen as, fully armored Darth Vader. I mean, it's just, it was a brilliant concept, and I was looking forward to it, but I got lazy. I got absorbed in other things, and, I didn't watch much TV or movies at all. I mean, in fact, it kept me away from my entire home video collection for the most part for weeks at a time. I would watch a movie here and there, but most of my time was spent online. And so here we are now. Hard to believe it's probably been a year since I bought that set, or close to it anyway. But I don't even really remember what led me to, the desire to finally start it last night, which is when I started it. And so I watched the first two episodes last night. And I mean, the first one was pretty slow, to be honest, but I guess I was expecting that to a certain extent because I knew that the show was going to be jumping forward 10 years. I was a little surprised that at the start of the first episode, there is a very brief scene which presumably takes place at the same time as Anakin, now Darth Vader's, raid on the Jedi Temple toward the end of Revenge of the Sith. So, I'm guessing that plays into the series later on. And then, I had seen various scenes from the series on YouTube over the past year, so I knew, certain story beats, but I didn't know what led up to them, what caused them, what the relevance was of them. So even though I enjoyed them, this was going to be my first time seeing them in context and really fleshing out the whole thing. So, it jumps forward 10 years in the first episode, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is living on Tatooine, basically as, a miserable mining worker on a, assembly line, eating very little, bathing even less, as, one Jawa, humorously reminds him. His attempts to interact with 10-year-old Luke are prevented by Uncle Owen, who is once again played by, I believe the actor's name is Joel Edgerton. He played the role in both Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And IMDb actually says that actress Bonnie Piesse, who played Aunt Beru in those films, was also in the first two episodes, but I didn't see her, so maybe she was in a really distant shot or something and I just missed her. But yeah, so Obi-Wan, he witnesses, there's these new characters They are Imperial enforcers, and they're known as the Inquisitor Squad. And what they do is they go around hunting down Jedi Knights. Because following the events of Episode 3, as Obi-Wan would later tell Luke in A New Hope, now the Jedi are all but extinct. So I guess, at this point in the story, 10 years, between those films, between 3 and 4, there's still a few Jedi left, but they are very, very sparse. And Obi-Wan is like, public enemy number one. Everybody is looking for him. To them, he is not just a Jedi, he is the Jedi, and they are looking for him. And there is one new character in particular named Third Sister Reva, played by an actress. I believe her name is Moses Ingram, which is an odd name to me. It's like, who in the world names a woman Moses? But anyway, but she's a very talented actress. She comes across as incredibly threatening, and very determined, almost, Sith-like in her own right. I have read, unfortunately, that she does have some ulterior motives of her own related to Darth Vader. So, we'll see how that pans out. As for Vader himself, you don't even see him until the very end of the second episode, when Obi-Wan is hiding, and Reva is there, and she calls out to him, and she says, I don't remember what the first part of the phrase was, but she says, Lord Vader will be pleased. And the look of absolute disbelief and terror on Obi-Wan's face, Ewan played it perfectly. It's like, you can totally believe this character has not heard that name in 10 years. Because up until that point in the second episode, he believed 100% certainty Anakin was dead. He had not finished him off on the shores of Mustafar because he didn't have the heart to do it. But he also didn't see that Palpatine had rescued him and rebuilt him in that iconic black armor. So, to Obi-Wan, he was dead. He was a dead man. There was no Anakin Skywalker. And then, while probing his mind, Reva is like, you didn't know. And then she starts gloating a little bit. She's like, Obi-Wan, he's alive. Anakin Skywalker is alive. And I'm like, okay, this is getting good. Not only does, she really, have a connection to Darth Vader, but now she knows who he really is, which, makes her both valuable and extraordinarily dangerous, to both, Obi-Wan and Vader. Because it's like, if Vader finds out that she knows his identity, she's a dead woman. Because at this point in the story, he is all out dark side, Sith evil incarnate, and he will not stop to kill anyone who is in his way. So, it's wow. And then in the third episode, which I just watched this morning, because I wanted to finish the first disc before making this video, the third episode is pretty much a road trip. Leia and Obi-Wan are in hiding from the Empire. I didn't really get to talk that much about the other factors in the first two episodes. Basically, in the first two episodes, it's established that Leia is being raised by Bail and Brea Organa on Alderaan. So you get to see Jimmy Smits come back as Bail Organa, which is absolutely incredible. And then they have a 10-year-old actress. She's now 13, I found out, but she was 10 at the time. And I knew her name up until now because I wrote about it a few hours ago. But she is so great as a 10-year-old Leia. I mean, her actions, her mannerisms, her voice, you know, the way that she behaves. I mean, you can totally believe that this little girl in 10 years is going to become the no nonsense, no bullshit, take no prisoners, you know, Carrie Fisher in, you know, episode 4. You know, you can totally see the traits. I mean, it's insane. I mean, I'm surprised that, you know, maybe they gave her the films to watch, you know, and that's how she learned it, or maybe she just trusted the script, who knows. But, you know, I'm imagining that she must have had, you know, some sort of coaching, because child actors, you know, they absorb things very quickly, but then they also, you know, improvise a lot because they don't have a lot of experience taking direction. So, so basically what begins Obi-Wan's quest is that Leia is kidnapped by pirates or smugglers. And then Bail comes to him personally on Tatooine and says, "There is no one in my life that I trust more than you." And at first, Obi-Wan is like, "I have a responsibility to the boy." And Bail calls him out on his crap. He's like, "This is not about the boy, and you know it," you know. And he looks at Bail and he says, "I am not the same man I used to be." And Bail is like, "Well, you'll have to be." You know, I mean, he puts Obi-Wan through the ringer. You know, he's like, "I need you to save my daughter." You know, I mean, it's a very powerful moment. So, you know, Obi-Wan is forced to leave behind his duty protecting Luke from a distance in order to save Leia from the Empire. Which is a very bold, you know, story idea. You know, I think it is a wonderful, wonderful dynamic. The two actors, Ewan McGregor and the actress playing Leia, you know, they are so great together. She is peppering him with questions. She's making sarcastic remarks. You know, there's even a short period where she's afraid of him because she starts, you know, feeling like he's not being honest with her, and he tries running away, or she tries running away, and he chases her down, and she almost falls to her death, and he ends up, you know, using the Force to save her life, and that's like the clarifying moment, you know, for her, where she's like, "Okay, you know, you're a good guy, you know, thank you, you know, let's move." And then the third episode, which I watched this morning, like I said, it's mostly a road trip episode, but, you know, because you see a lot of time with Obi-Wan and Leia navigating the underground. They are being helped out by various people, but then they're also being accosted by a ton of stormtroopers. And then in the background, there's a few scenes of various members of the Inquisitors, including Third Sister Reva, wanting Obi-Wan. And then there's an interesting scene where we are taken back to Mustafar, and you see all the mechanical limbs and the chess box and the iconic mask, all attached to what's left of Anakin Skywalker's body as music and great lines from the movies, play with echoes on them in the background, and you're like, ooh. And then Vader walks out, and he has a throne on Mustafar, and, he starts conversing with a hologram of third sister Reva. And spoiler, but in one of the previous episodes, I believe it was in episode 2, she killed her superior, the Grand Inquisitor, because he was standing in her way. She wanted Obi-Wan, and he was like, you're going about it the wrong way. She finally got pissed and ran him through with a red lightsaber, so, she got sick of it. And then she tries to defend her actions to Vader, and Vader is like, the Grand Inquisitor does not matter. He is all that matters, referring to Kenobi. And then, Vader says something along the lines of, succeed in your mission, and the Grand Inquisitor position shall be yours. Fail me, and you shall not live to see otherwise. And it's like, even though he was older doing that voice, James Earl Jones still had it, because, the show was made before he sadly passed away recently. And unless I'm mistaken, it's actually the final Star Wars project that he contributed to. But he signed a document that allows the studio to synthesize his voice for the appearances of Darth Vader in the future, because fans are going to expect Vader to sound like him in every other project, so they want consistency, and he understood that. So he signed over the likeness to his voice, the rights to his voice, before he passed away. And then there is when Obi-Wan is hiding in a small desert area with a resistance fighter and with the young Leia, all of a sudden you see the boots and the cape and the gloves, and the camera just keeps going to all sorts of different angles, and then finally you see Vader walking through that village, with a couple of other, characters behind him. And as he's walking through, he's breaking people's necks, both adults and children, which, I don't know if they'd ever actually shown in any of the films before. I don't remember. I don't think they did. And then at a certain point he stops and he turns in one direction because Obi-Wan had been watching him, and so I guess he sensed him. And Obi-Wan tries to run away, and then Vader finds him, and the two of them start, facing off. And at this point, in the series, this is Obi-Wan's first meeting with the fully armored Darth Vader. And his first statement is, "What have you become?" And Vader, just standing there with his lightsaber ignited, says, "I am what you made me." And it's just, and they start fighting, and eventually Kenobi loses, basically because Vader cheats, much like he did with Luke in Empire Strikes Back. Vader coats the ground in front of Kenobi with some flammable, like charcoal or something, and then levitates Kenobi into the air with the Force, slams him down onto the charcoal, and then, ignites it with his lightsaber. And the only way that Kenobi is saved is because the Resistance fighter that had been with Leia, Leia told the Resistance fighter, go save him. I think she actually said, go get him back. And so she went there with a small sniper rifle, and as one of the stormtroopers was about to kill Obi-Wan, she shot the stormtrooper, and then she also shot one of the nearby devices or something to, put a barrier, between Kenobi and Vader. And it was like a wall of fire. So then they were able to get, Kenobi away, and Vader left. And then at the very, very end of the episode, Leia runs into a room where she was supposed to meet another Resistance ally, and she is met by Third Sister Reva. And it's shown that the Resistance fighter's body is on the floor. And so Leia just looks at the guy's body, looks at Third Sister Reva, and then the screen goes black. And I'm like, wow, they are really pushing this story. That's my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hopefully I'll have more to say about the next 3 episodes, because there's only 6 episodes in the whole series. But hopefully, the next 3 episodes will be even better than the first half. So, we'll see. This is your friendly neighborhood movie fan, signing off for now. Thanks for watching.